The Center for Disease Control reports nearly 10% of Americans of all ages are in fair or poor health. And children aren't immune either. The CDC also reports that 1 in 5 youths between 6 and 19 suffer from high cholesterol. With us today is Dr. Charles Stout of Diagnostic Reference Group and Laboratory to help us qualify, quantify, and clarify what ails us. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So let's just start with this question. What's going on? What are we doing wrong?
Well, we're over-medicating ourselves. There's over 20 million people who are on prescription antacids and another 60 million self-medicate every month. That's 80 million people taking pills for symptoms when the vast majority of them don't need it. We're in for an instant gratification, and unfortunately, that's not helping.
What about the internet? I see a lot of people, and I'm guilty right here. You know, I'm feeling something, I've got a symptom, I look it up, and I know knowledge is power, but sometimes you hear people say, don't do that. Don't even look at that because it's just going to steer you in the wrong direction. And what do? I see my symptoms, I run to the doctor, and hence?
Yes, and that's the problem. You're doing more harm than good because you're only going in with half the information. People are trying to match their symptoms up against a disease, and not all diseases impact everybody the same way.
Correct.
Even if you find one, you don't know specifically what's going wrong in your body. That's why you need to be tested.
Because what one person has may not affect you the same way.
Absolutely. Not all diseases have classic symptoms to them.
So how do you know what's causing it, and what are you doing to help us find out more about that underlying cause?
Well, we've developed a state-of-the-art molecular-based test.
Okay.
This test is the GPP,
Okay.
Gastrointestinal Pathogens Plus. And what it looks for is the bacteria, parasites, and fungi that could be the predominant cause of the patient's problem. What we do that's different than anybody else is we quantify the actual results. I mean, like we sit here in the studio, and you have these lights on. When they leave at night, they say, hey, is the lights on in the studio? And you say, well, yes. And you come back in, it's a night light. You didn't worry about that. You were concerned with the big one. So when you provide doctor quantification, actual numbers, now they get a better picture. We also include the digestive health markers. They're important because it tells the doctor whether the patient's immune system is working properly or whether it's thrown in the towel and said, I give up. And we have our aha moment, and that is QPAR. That stands for quantitative phenotypic antibiotic resistance. That's a mouthful.
Mouthful, and bring it now and break it down for me in simple words.
What it does is it's the numbers on specifically what's going on in your body, plus it's your specific drug resistance.
Oh.
And that's really critical.
That's huge, because then you know exactly.
Right. Here's the problem. If you have a bacterial infection and the doctor wants to use drug A, if they don't know whether or not you're resistant to that drug, then when they give it to you, it's going to cause a superbug, because bacteria will share information. Just like all of us want to stay alive, the bacteria do too, and they figure out ways to fight off and survive antibiotics. So it's very, very important to know what your specific antibiotic resistance is before the doctor gives you that drug.
Because let's be honest, every DNA makeup is so different, right?
Correct.
Now, how is this test? Is it a blood test?
No, it's actually a stool test. One you can do in the convenience and security of your own home, and we need a specimen about the size of a Hershey's Kiss.
And you mentioned the digestive system, and I know there's a huge relation between that and our overall health. Give me some more information as to why they go hand in hand.
That's why we got into this business. My wife used to come home from work, curl up in a ball on the floor on the bed with a knot in her stomach, and we went searching for a means of finding out what was the cause, the root cause. Because you understand, your entire health is dependent on the health of your digestive system. If it's functioning properly, you will function properly. If it isn't, then it has to get rid of all these toxins. It starts affecting other organs in your body, all the way up to a lot of your skin conditions: eczema, seborrhea, psoriasis, dermatitis, urticaria. These are the body's way of putting forth symptoms and saying, hey guys, there's a problem in the digestive system. Something you ate or are continuing to eat is causing a problem.
Okay, so here's the million-dollar question. Why don't doctors know about this test, or why aren't patients getting this test so they can hone in on what the exact problem is and the cause?
The problem is the majority of the physicians that are treating gastrointestinal issues are gastros. Average age is over 60. When they were going through med school, they didn't have the molecular testing available to be taught on back then, even to the point where they were taught, geez, ulcers are caused by spicy food and stress, and we know today that they're not. That's the bacterium, and that's what we first mentioned when I said 20 million were on prescription antacids. It's that bacteria going active in your system that's the problem.
So we go back to the internet, and sometimes knowing too much may not help, but in this scenario, knowledge is power, because if a patient knows of this test, they can go into the office, see their doctor, and say what?
Doc, I need you to go to drglab.com and order a gastrointestinal pathogens plus panel for me so that we can find out specifically what I got going on in my body and what will or will not work that you want to prescribe so that I can get to where I want to be, and that's healthy again.
And if patients do that more and more, doctor?
We will have a healthier society, a happier society, and we won't be spending $500 billion a year on pills.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all the information.
You're welcome.
And if you want to find out more about this, you can go to DRG Testing by visiting their website, drglab.com. That's drglab.com. Of course, you can also recap this segment. Go to our website, thebalancingact.com.